Hello, and welcome to Mean Street News. Mean Street News is here to provide accurate news to help citizens affect change in their local government and beyond. Being nice is overrated. It is time to be real. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. The time to step up and step in is now. So please come join me, Katie, over on Mean Street News to discuss Ohio politics and beyond. I hope to see you there. Hello, and welcome to Mean Street News. Mean Street News is here to provide accurate news to help citizens affect change in their local government and beyond. Being nice is overrated. It is time to be real. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. The time to step up and step in is now. So please come join me, Katie, over on Mean Street News to discuss Ohio politics and beyond. I hope to see you there. Hello. Hello and welcome to Mean Street News. Let me get this label off of here. So sorry, I'm a little bit late tonight. Computer updates, and you know how that goes. Apparently, I haven't updated my computer in forever. So I'm so glad you can join me here tonight. I'm Katie. If you're new here, if you're not, welcome back. I just wanted to jump on here tonight. It was unscheduled, but as many of you have seen, I have been all over Facebook today regarding the Ohio EPA, and I wanted to come on here and discuss, what occurred today. So I'm sitting here minding my own business this morning, and someone messages me the draft for the Ohio EPA permit. I gotta actually read what it actually says before I mess this up. It is the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency fact sheet for the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination Systems general permit for discharges from data center facilities. And I'm like, wow, this just kind of caught my eye. I'm like, what is this? I haven't heard about this. I haven't seen this in the news that the Ohio EPA is doing something with data centers. And I open the document, and immediately I am hit with the second paragraph. Okay, I just had the draft open, and now here we go. It's up here. I'm going to show you guys this. I'm going to share my screen. So I'm like, what is this? So I open it, and I'm just shocked. I'm absolutely shocked. It's insane. Let me share my screen here with you guys. I'm like, before I get into it, Ohio public corruption ceases to amaze me. And then they go and do something like this. I'm like, what the heck? 10 days before Christmas, the Ohio EPA decides that they want to partner with data centers. And that's very odd, for one. For two, it's the language in the second paragraph of their draft for their permits for the discharge. And let me pay attention real quick. Share screen. I always lose my audio, so I want to make sure I click that. This one also shares as well. Share. Oh, here we go. So, edit. I'm going to open this for you, just so I can read it while I'm on screen with you. And if you're probably not going to be able to read it just because it is the screen split in half, but hopefully you can. If not, I'm going to read it to you. We're not going to read this whole thing. I'm not going to go through that tonight. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to dissect it. I already read all 37 pages, but I'm going to actually go through it and write a proper response to them. I wrote a quick response today because I read it this morning and it was due by 5, and then I went to the meeting today. But this is what hit me. This is what actually, you know what? I'm gonna say this. This is what infuriated me. Okay. So this let's see, second paragraph. Why am I losing it? Something's wrong with my brain today. Been thinking too much. Uh, okay, I just had it and then I lose it. Purpose. Why am I losing my shit today? I don't understand this. You know what I'm gonna do? Oh, because I'm on the wrong thing? That would make sense. Katie, something's wrong with your brain today. Okay, here we go. The right document. Give me a second just to get back into this. Okay, so I go to the draft document that they're proposing to adopt, and today is public participation. They had one previous meeting on October 25th. Now, I've never seen this before this morning. I haven't heard about it. Like I said, I haven't heard about it in the news. I find it really odd. So I go to the document and I go to the paragraph 2. Now, this is what just enraged me. The purpose of this general NPDES permit is to ensure that discharge data from center facilities and to waters of the state are in compliance with applicable federal law, blah, blah, blah. Come on, am I like losing it today? Yes, I am. Okay, I quit. Discharge centers. Where is it? God, I hate myself. You know what it is? I can't read. Wastewater. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna quit this because it's too late for all this. This is what I'm gonna do. I already uploaded it. So I wrote them a letter. Here we go. And I quoted them here. This is what enraged me about the entire thing. And I'm gonna pull up here. Full screen this. How do I do that? Okay. So I'm like messing up tonight. Here we go. I need to read this. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Now I figured it out. Something's wrong with me today. Oh, I've been thinking all day and then I get jumbled. Here we go. So, the second paragraph of this, the draft that I was just showing you, and I don't have it exactly up, and I'm not reading that much tonight. It says, it has been determined. This is the reasoning the EPA gave that they need to do this permitting with the data centers in Ohio. It has been determined that a lowering of water quality of it has been determined that a lowering of water quality of various waters of the state associated with granting coverage under this permit is necessary to accommodate important social and economic development in the state of Ohio. So what are they saying there? They're saying we designed this grant, okay? We designed this not grant, this permit, okay? We designed this permit for the data centers because it is good for the economic development in the state of Ohio. And we determined because the data centers in Ohio need to do business, we are going to lower the standards of your water in various waters. Do they explain which waters in the state of Ohio? No, they don't. They don't explain which waters they're talking about. They don't. I can take a guess based on that draft I showed you. I would say Lake Erie. Lake Erie, absolutely. Specifically because page 3 of their page 3 section. You know, I'm not on the right one. There we go. Eligibility determining factors. Here we go. Section E. Here we go. Section E. share this with you. I'm actually getting back onto my thing now. Okay. So it will show you here. Make sure I have my sound because I do this all the time. Yes, I do. Okay. So it says here, section E of this draft, this draft for the permitting. It's a section E with the exceptions of an I gotta read this. Eligibility determining factors. The following discharge associated with data center facilities are not authorized by this permit. Okay. So all of this stuff that they're saying is not authorized. Now go to section E. With the exception of an existing discharge, any discharge to outstanding state waters, superior high quality waters, category 3 wetland, or outstanding national resource waters other than Lake Erie, as defined by and identified by Rule 3745-1-05 of the Ohio Administrative Code, or direct tributaries to these waters within 2 stream miles of these waters. So they want the discharge to go into Lake Erie, because why would they exclude Lake Erie? Okay. And so they want to pollute Lake Erie. Lake Erie, which is one of the largest net freshwater resources that we have. And again, Ohio EPA, why do you want to do this? And they tell you they want to do this to help the data centers. Is they claim, this is their claim, is that it is socially and economically beneficial to Ohio. Okay, let's break that down. And I broke that down in a quick letter I sent, and I'm just going to go over this tonight with you guys because it's common sense. I said today I learned of the Ohio EPA's plan to issue a general permit for, let's see, drafts, I wrote this quick, for discharges from data center facilities. I was shocked after I began reading the document, and then I already read you the second paragraph, that they want to lower the water quality to accommodate important social and economic development in the state. And you know what I told them? I believe you just said the quiet part out loud. The Ohio Environmental Protection Agency wants to lower the quality of the Ohioans' water because it's good for business. And my question is, whose business? Whose business is it good for? The Ohio EPA also stated that it is good for the economy. Well, since when was the economy the concern of the Ohio Enviornmental Protection Agency? Data centers do not produce jobs. They don't. I mean, you'll have less than 100 people working there. They consume resources, though. They pollute. And, after reading this draft that was proposed, it is clear that the Ohio Environmental Agency has lost its way. Well, why do I say that? Because this draft for a permit to allow them to discharge into our Ohio waterways is pretty much allowing them to do whatever they want, pretty much. They list, a lot of people brought up a lot of good things at this meeting today. One, they leave out certain water systems. This one guy brought up canals that they would want to, hear it at the end of the video shortly, but that they would want to allow the data centers to dump nutrient-rich warm water in Ohio canals. The canals in Ohio only fill up during the spring, and then they go right into the what? Lake Erie. They contain 100 years of soil, nutrient-rich soil, and they want to put whatever the heck they're going to put in there. When it comes to the chemicals that they outline, they leave off chemicals that would be in contact with this discharge water. They are very vague in regards to the testing, and they said every the 2 years they would be testing. The language for the testing, it really kind of puts it on it's like trusting the data centers to tell you if and what and when what kind of chemical, like they could just leave anything out. And regardless of all of that, regardless of basically giving Ohio data centers a Christmas gift this Christmas and saying we're going to abscond our responsibilities as to protect the environment, we are going to basically allow you guys to do what you want. And this is uncharted territory. The whole data center thing is new upcoming. Okay. There's not really a lot of regulations in law, and I don't believe regulatory agency should be contracting with or permitting. I believe it's contracting, regulating without clear regulations from the legislator, what constitutes what they can put into our waterways. This is just dangerous. So I'm going to go back to the end of my letter real quick, because it kind of just sums up what I mean here. The Ohio EPA was created to protect public health and the environment in Ohio. It's supposed to enforce environmental laws, setting standards for clean air, water, and waste management, cleaning up contaminated sites, assisting businesses and communities with compliance and pollution prevention is the job of the Ohio EPA. After reading the entire draft of the EPA's day, Ohio EPA is trying to do the job of the Ohio legislator. The Ohio EPA doesn't have the right to make rules they're allowed to enforce the rules that are made for them by the state legislator in regards to how businesses operate here in Ohio and what their statutory rules would be or administrative rules would be. It is my request that the Ohio EPA extend the January 16th, 2026 extension, which wasn't even due to the amount. Saw this today or yesterday before realizing this is what they're going to do. I asked for a 90-day time frame to allow the time to inform the public to speak to the Ohio legislators regarding the Ohio EPA's legal authority to contract with data companies and stipulate what and how they conduct business, which is clearly the job of the legislator. Not much surprises me, but the fact that today, for the first time, I'm learning that a regulatory body is lowering the standards to pollute the very thing they were created to protect in the interest of big business, and to say amazes me. I wrote this quick. The Ohio EPA will receive a formal statement from me soon. But that's really essentially what they want to do. They're saying, I'm the state of Ohio, okay, Environmental Protection Agency, and I have this board has decided on their own that they are going to allow pollution, allow a lower quality of water, allow data centers to, my hypothesis, poison us a little bit. We don't know the outcome. We don't know what it's going to do to our wildlife. We don't know much here about anything. I don't think they know much about anything. We're going to give them the power to pollute our water because it is socially and economically beneficial. And again, for who? It is not beneficial to taxpayers. Data centers, like I said, cause pollution. They cause they cause prices of electricity and water to increase. They don't employ that many people. So who is it economically beneficial for? And also in the draft statement, and I'm not going to go over the 30 pages. I will go over that later when I have some. I'm going to reach out to some people that spoke today that have been in the environmental field here for a while that I liked what they said. And I'm going to see if I can get them on and interview them. But it it is like the stupidity, the just the pure stupidity of allowing the EPA, and honestly, where's the legislator, but allowing the EPA to decide to make up a permit for these data centers to pollute our water. And I don't care how safe they say they're going to be. Doesn't have the best track history with pollution. Let's think about the 1960s. The lake was dead. Right now, we still have algae issues with the lake with the pesticide runoffs. We have algae blooms. I grew up on this lake. I live in Vermilion right now, and um, I have family that has beachfront property. I grew up on beachfront property. My grandfather had a house in the Chaussee. You can see the difference in the lake from Sandusky to what it is in Avon Lake in Vermilion. The water quality. We have wastewater treatment problems all down the coast. So we're having problems treating our wastewater. Okay. Vermilion we have a $75 million issue here in Vermilion that's regulated by the EPA, is regulating us to get a new wastewater treatment plant. And, let's add to the problem with the wastewater treatment plants and already having wastewater issue. And let's add let's add a big techs crap to our water supply now too. It doesn't make any sense. And my question to the Ohio legislators is, where the hell are you all? Did any of you, and that's what I'll be doing all next week, is making phone calls to all of our legislators. I'll be providing all of you with their phone numbers and emails and names. And I hope to God you all contact our legislators and say, it is your job to dictate, to not even dictate, to write law, to write statute, to write the process that the environmental agency is supposed to follow. Who is the environmental agency to say that we are going to lower our quality of water standards to help big tech? It's outrageous. And again, on behalf of who? Big tech data centers don't benefit the public. They're actually, coming up to surveil the public, especially with schools, especially with, you see all the block cameras. There's a lot of data going to go. This is not innocent. And, they bring up, the data centers have been so great. Let's look at Columbus. Look at Columbus with Intel. Well, what happened in Columbus with Intel? Didn't they pause production or pause construction, put it on hold? It was supposed to be this great, huge thing and all the housing boom, everything. And then right now it's on hold. The EPA is acting out of their authority. Now, they extended the public to write statements to them to the 16th of January. From now to the 16th of January, we have a month. I'm going to get on the phone with our legislator. We're going to have another episode here to go over exactly what they said, the exact problems with everything in that draft. I urge people that have the attention span to read a 37-page boring but interesting document. It basically says in the document too that the chemicals that aren't listed, they're not going to. There's no regulation there. So how do we know as the public there's not some chemical like bromine that's not listed that causes severe health issues, high blood pressure after long-term exposure, causes physical, mental anguish, autoimmune response? How do we know that the data centers it's not contact with bromine? And why is it on the public to sacrifice their natural resources for data centers that do not benefit them? You guys all can say AI, this, that. I don't care about AI. I don't care about AI. One thing my father taught me, and I'll say this till I die: if it's a computer, someone has programmed it. If it's a computer, There's somebody programming behind it. AI is not a sentient being. Someone is putting the inputs into AI to tell us, and tell it what its parameters are, what it's allowed to do, what it's allowed to tell you. You don't trust AI. Don't be like, oh, this is magical. It's not magical. It's code. Is it have benefits? Yeah, but Ohio, it has an energy issue right now with energy costs thanks to HB6, another scandal. There we gave $100 billion to nuclear plants, and then for them and they paid $60 million in bribes for them then to pay like a $200 million, I think it was like $200 or $100 million fee. Okay, they're still up $900 million. I mean, maybe, yeah, 820 million. You know what I mean? Like, why would they care? We have rising energy costs. We have rising water costs. I can tell you that from Vermilion right now. They're saying we have wastewater treatment plant issues. Why is the EPA not looking into that? And honestly, taking on these data centers discharge and not having them figure it out themselves. Somebody actually said it. I'm not actually want to say this because the guy actually said it was, why aren't they creating their own system to cool down their systems? Self-generating. So like, why aren't they doing that? Why are we responsible for that burden? And the draft also that I really want to point out to you all is, in this draft, it goes over, if there's an emergency, it's pretty much says, if there's an emergency, if for some reason this discharge is like some chemicals and there's some crazy catastrophe, you just have to inform us and have a plan. So my other question to the EPA would be on the Ohioans to pay if there's some kind of emergency, some kind of they taint our groundwater, they taint our lake water, they kill our lake, they kill species. What's the repercussions there? Which is why this is on the legislator. And when I say legislator, I mean your Ohio senators and your Ohio House members. They should be forming a bill that regulates data center pollution, how the EPA is supposed to deal with them. The EPA, and I'm not 100% on this yet, but there was a case in the Supreme Court. It's called Chevron deference. It came out of COVID, and it said that the administrative state can no longer make its own rules. So, like when the health department was like, we want to track your kids, we want to do all of this, and the legislature didn't create a bill saying that the health department can track our kids using a seating chart and work with the schools to violate our child's HIPAA rights. They just let the health department, that administrative department, do pretty much whatever they wanted. Well, somebody sued and went all the way to the Supreme Court. I believe it was last year. Chevron said that that's no longer a thing. If something's not passed by Congress specifically regarding an administrative code, like a rule for that administration and how they're supposed to operate and operating procedures, then it's not a thing. It's legal. The administrative state cannot make its own rules. And I think Ohio EPA, to have the audacity of what they did today, they were going to sneak this in 10 days before Christmas. Merry Christmas, big tech. And what if this wasn't brought to a bunch of people's attention? I mean, by the grace of God, it was brought to my attention this morning. And I just, happened to look at it and just saw the second paragraph. I was like, now I'm in. Like, what is this? They want to pollute our lake? It's absolutely insane. And they don't even give us, it's not appropriate. What the EPA is not doing is appropriate. So what I really want them to do is throw this entire thing out. I want all of us to go to the Ohio Senate, our representatives, and I want us to bitch. And I want to write letters to them. I want to call them. I want to tell them to do their job and regulate the EPA. The EPA has no authority to contract with data centers. We see what's going on all over every county with these issues with these data centers coming in, signing, requiring NDAs with our elected officials, which is a huge freaking issue. No elected official should be able to sign a non-disclosure agreement to not tell the public what they want to do on public lands with public money. That's insane. That is insane. But that's what they're doing. And then the public doesn't find out about what's going on until the last minute when they're like, oh yeah, we've been working on this in a while. We just couldn't say anything because, NDAs. What? I feel like since COVID, and I feel like it's starting with COVID, the purple people eaters, that's what I call them, left, right, center. They're all the same. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. They are purple people eaters. They're politicians who are purple people eater. Some are good, some are okay, but they're purple people eaters. They are working together, especially Ohio, are working together to, I'm not going to say the word, but to F you. And it is very clear that the Ohio EPA, the board of the Ohio Enviornmental Protection Agency, feels that it does not work for the people. It works. Again, what business? For who? It works for big tech. It works for corporations. It does not care about its entire premise of being to protect the environment, to protect in our water stuff we drink. And we are already having issue. People go into your local city council meetings. We go look at your water bills. We are having issues with all of these outdated wastewater treatment plants. And it's going to cost the taxpayers. I mean, Vermilion alone is 75. They say it's going to be 75 million. It's going to be over 100 million to build a new wastewater treatment plants. It's going to increase our sewage rates by 300%, which means our bill is going to go up almost 50% in this economy. Our electric grid can't handle the output of these data centers. Even the who was it? It was this week. Some who was it in Ohio that said this? But they said they are asking to slow down with it was some kind of board or something. But they said we need to slow down on these data centers that are opening up because our grid cannot handle it. Now, Ohio produces excess energy. We absolutely do, but we don't have enough to take on these data centers. We just don't. And as much as your elected officials are going to say it's so good for the environment, I mean, it's so good for the economy. So good for the economy. No, it's not. It's absolutely not. It could all those things do is they steal our natural resources, take them out, use them, put them back, pollute them while taking them, and which increases our rates, our electric rates, our water rates, and the EPA has better issues to deal with than partnering in a public-private partnership with big tech to basically, just say, here you go, Merry Christmas, do whatever you want. It's not our responsibility. I mean, this is like literally the definition of insanity. But I just wanted to get on here real quick tonight. I really don't want to take the time. I've been 34 minutes of your time. I do have the video of the presentation. I'm going to upload it to my YouTube in the morning. But for right now, I would love you guys to stay on. It's about 20 minutes. I'm just going to play it for you guys. And then you guys will see me next week, probably with a guest. I was going to come on until January, but I feel the need to. I got some articles dropping that I've been writing about some Lorain County issues. I'm going to give you also an Adobe. It's going to be a PDF. It's going to be a step-by-step of who to call what to write and what to request. I have a records request going into the Ohio EPA. I worked on that this evening. I have a formal letter that I'll be posting that I hope you guys just copy and paste some of it, personalize it a little bit. I do always like to say, I give you a draft, please personalize it a little bit, because if the legislators get a draft of a letter and it's the same letter over and over again, it loses its meaning. Take my draft and just add a little of your own little spice to it, I hope. But it's time in the next 30 days to get loud, and it's time to tell our legislators to do. I'm just a little blunt here. Do your fucking job and rein in the Environmental Protection Agency. The Environmental Protection Agency has no authority to make the decision to lower our water quality because they feel personally it's good for the economy, social. I, when that word social and economy, um, what do you mean social? Social engineering? Social. And when I say social engineering, do I mean like Big Brother? Uh, uh, what is the purpose of the social? What does it do? What do data centers do for us as a society, community, socially? Collect your data, fusion centers, monitor the private citizen. And I know, like, you guys be like, "Oh, she sounds kooky." You should see what they're doing with the schools. You will have no idea. I spent 3 years, and I have a. You'll see next year what I have done, but I. It is terrifying what they're doing with data with kids in schools. And they switched those laptops during COVID on purpose. They're collecting biometric feedback data on your children. They are collecting their social emotional measurements. I mean, like, is that what this data is for? I urge all of you also to look into like the data centers. Look into OSU. They partnered with a huge Russian billionaire a couple of years ago for education data. I mean, data centers aren't just AI. That's my point. They are a part of the surveillance state that is creeping on in. Think about ESG scores. Think about, they're already doing that with your kids at school, by the way. Tracking their emotional, social it's a whole thing, but they're already doing that. They're giving your children ECG scores. They started doing that during COVID. It's a nightmare. It's like 1984. Let's just say that 1984. But I'm going to stop ranting. Thank you for joining me tonight, and take 20 minutes. Watch this ridiculousness of the EPA. I will be back this week to talk about we'll talk about this and some other stuff. I will have a guest probably next week that is more environmentally sound when it comes to like the water issues. That they made great statements today. There's a couple people I'm gonna reach out to that spoke at the EPA today that were great, that I'm gonna get them on a live and we're gonna have a chit chat. I don't want to be negative. But this terrifies me. This absolutely terrifies me, especially having a son that was affected by environmental. My son's autistic. He's genetically perfect, so it's not genetic. It has to be environmental. That is very sensitive to the environment, very sensitive to chemicals. We have heavy metal detoxed him, which is night and day with behaviors and stuff. But this is scary. This is just, to me, it's scary, and I'm very protective of Lake Erie. That is in our freshwater sources, in our groundwater, and I mean, honestly, let's look at Springfield. I mean, DeWine blew up that freaking train, and the MSDS sheet said he was never even supposed to do that. He was supposed to spray something. I mean, do not trust Ohio when it comes to environmental regulations. And this is my last thing is 2 years ago, I talked about the administrative code. There was a toolkit built by John Husted, the former governor, now Senator John Husted. He built an AI tool. Well, he built onto. Kasich started it in 2018, but there's a toolkit where he used AI to go through the administrative code, and the administrative code is the rules for the government. And they, through the budget bill, rescinded 1/3 of the administrative code. And why are you bringing this up, Kate? What does that have to do with anything? And I'm going to show you. I have to sign into something real quick. So 2 seconds. The administrative code is the rules for the government. Okay. So when they make a law, they also make rules for the agencies that are to, regulate or enforce those laws. Okay. And when they did that, why did they do that? Why did they go through the administrative code and get rid of 1/3 over, I think it was 2 million words. I think it was, I'm about to actually give you the statistics right here. Should just sign into my iCloud. 2 seconds. But the Buckeye Institute in 2018 started working with John Kasich, former governor, about the Ohio Administrative Code and, loosening up red tape to make it easier to do business in Ohio. Well, what I found really, really interesting is what did they actually rescind? And, this is what also really irritates me is they got rid of a third of the administrative code through the budget bill. It wasn't going to pass the House and the Senate. And this is what dirty Ohio does. And it has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do, the administrative code has nothing to do with money. But if the Ohio executive branch feels like it is not going to get something it wants done legally through a bill by itself, a standalone bill, which under the Ohio Constitution, it is supposed to be a standalone bill. But if they feel like that is not going to work, what they do, here we go, is they shove it in the budget bill. And that is what they did to cut 1/3 of the administrative code. So, what was that? It was it was the administrative code. It was the code. Come on, I just sent this to somebody. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna find this. Is it Houston 2? Not upload. Why does this do this to me? What the fuck? It's not upload. Hold on, I sent it to somebody, so I'm just gonna pull it up on my phone. You guys are gonna be able to see it. Shh. I sent it to here. So they had the rules that they got rid of, and I found this really interesting, and this is why it's relevant. Is Institute. Houston leads bill. Come on, why do you hate me right now? Documents. Here we go. I was at the right place. I knew it. Okay, sorry. I want to show you guys this because it's relevant. He said administrative code. So what do you think they got rid of the most in the administrative code? I will tell you. It is not this one. The EPA regulations. And do you think it's a coincidence that the EPA now is trying to? Here we go. Oh no, share this. I found it. I love when I find something. Okay, hold on. And then I'm getting off here because I'm not going past an hour. I didn't even want to be on here this long because I want you guys to see this presentation. And like I said, I'm going to post it separately so you don't want to hear me talk this whole thing. I'm sorry, I'm a little jumpy. I wasn't I wasn't prepared, but I was. Here we go. So what they did is they said Ohioans are weighed down by regulation. You know what I mean? So what they did is these institutes went through and found. Here we go. All the states. Here we go. Top 10 industry targeted by Ohio state regulations in 2018. So chemical manufacturing, food manufacturing, animals, lottery commission, environmental. So top 10 regulators in Ohio. Number 2 being the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency. So this is in 2018. Okay. So what do you think that they did in 2023 to the Ohio Administrative Code regarding the EPA? They cut the shit out of the regulations, which is why I think, Ohio EPA feels like it can pretty much do it at once because it's pretty much allowed to by our legislator. If our legislator allows their regulatory agency, and checks and balances are there for a reason, allows this, they are absconding their own duty. And that's like the MO of the legislator. But that's what they've always been targeting. And they say it's to allow easier business, all these cuts to the code and stuff. And I'm starting to realize with the more research that I'm doing and records requests that I'm doing is it's not just cutting the red tape. They didn't just cut the red tape. They're allowing it for the sole purpose of not for like the good of the Ohioans, but good for the big tech business owners and polluters and those that it's not going to affect in a way of like they live here, foreign governments. And again, I not to bring up Israel, but I do want to bring this up. Ohio is trying to create a partnership with an economic partnership with Israel. It's Senate Bill 200 and something. It's on my Facebook page. Go on my Facebook page and look, and there's another one. But I found this really interesting. During one of the Senate hearings, the senator said that they want this partnership with Israel because Israel, who, by the way, lives in the middle of the fucking desert, is really good in regards to water treatment facilities. And that's what they want to partner with the Ohio Senate and the Ohio legislature want to partner with Israel for is regarding Ohio's water, whatever, with Israel, because, Israel's so good at, water, sewer, and regulation, even though they live in the desert. Not that close. Oh, no, it's probably different. They already have that. Anyways, but don't you think it's interesting that, Ohio wants to partner with foreign government regarding our water? Ohio EPA is now lowering Ohio water quality standards in order to enhance big tech. And here's the connection. I'm weaving, but here's the connection. What is Israel known for? Israel's a surveillance state. Data centers. They have a lot of data centers, and they surveil their citizens. And it's like, is that the goal for Ohio down the road? Is that why the senators and legislators want to partner with a foreign government and give a foreign government money to start setting up Ohio's surveillance system? And I don't want to sound like a kook, but like, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. You know what I mean? And I'm just talking. It's weird. It's very weird. But watch this video. I'll be on later this week to talk later next week. Yeah, next week or the week after. Well, next week's Christmas. Probably earlier next week. I'm probably trying to get a guest on before Christmas to talk about this a little more in depth and go over the actual draft itself for all of you. But right now, watch the presentation. Let me know what you think. And thank you for joining me so late. And sorry, I was a little kooky. I'm like a little everywhere, but I just can't believe this. And before I go, I want to give a round of applause for the Ohio EPA spitting on the citizens of Ohio, abandoning their duties as board members of the Ohio Enviornmental Protection Agency. I don't know how you protect the environment when you're lowering quality standards for private business. But yeah, good job, you guys. I mean, Ohio is the worst state with corruption. I mean, the absolute worst. This is corrupt, and we're going to figure out why. We're going to figure out who the board members are trying to benefit, who they've had discussions with. It is time to public records request the shit out of the EPA, and I'm going to have a ball with them. So, my round of applause to the EPA for being jackasses. I'm just kidding. Fuck you. But watch this. Watch the presentation. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys later. I will be updating you guys. Updating you guys as I go. I will be making phone calls tomorrow. I will be making phone calls Friday to our state legislators. So if any of you are watching, you will be hearing from me. And enjoy your night. Have a great day. Have a great night. And I will see you all soon. And like I always have said, stay focused, Ohio.
When the hearing begins, I ask that anyone attending in person and wishing to provide testimony raise their hand and wait for me to call on you, and then we'll move you up to the microphone station so you can present your testimony. We will also be monitoring online the comments that we get in, and I will push those out to the audience so people can see the comments that are coming in online. There are handouts in person. You have some handouts, but also on GoTo, you have the handouts available. If you press on the handouts button, you'll be able to see the handouts that are included. As you can see, there's a considerable amount of public interest in this draft general permit. We have well over 100 people attending online, I believe, as well as about 25 here in person. We've already received over 2,000 comments in our online comment portal, but I did want to let folks know that we are extending the comment period to January 16, 2025. Or sorry, 2026. All right, so we've gotten a lot of comments, like I said, and some of the comments contain these topics, and I just wanted to go over some of the information because different agencies or organizations may take the lead for the different topics. Let me take a sip really quick. Ohio EPA reviews applications and permits to ensure that the facility's proposed actions comply with Ohio's environmental rules and laws. There are topics that, as an Ohioan, I know are pertinent to data centers and the communities in which they are proposing to be situated, but Ohio EPA does not have jurisdiction over some of those concerns. This doesn't mean that those items aren't important to consider. However, they're not topics that Ohio EPA can address through our permitting process. So on the slide here, you can see, I know there's a lot of contention and concern with electricity use and rates, as well as water use and rates. The PUCO is the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio, and your local providers are folks that you can talk to about the rates. Noise pollution and light pollution is another item that we've seen people are interested in. Ohio EPA does not regulate those forms of pollution, that would be down to the local municipality having codes or other types of things that would limit noise or light in their communities. For folks on private drinking water wells, the local health department and Ohio Department of Health have regulatory authority over those. Ohio EPA has regulatory authority over public drinking water works. Groundwater withdrawal, I've heard that that is a big concern for Ohioans, and Ohio EPA does not have jurisdiction over that. That's Ohio Department of Natural Resources. Stop it. Ohio EPA cannot. We review things based on Ohio's environmental rules and laws, and if they meet those, we are obligated to draft early on with your zoning officer or zoning municipality zoning office and other folks in the municipality. And also there's been quite a few news stories recently about public health concerns, human health concerns with relation to data centers. And again, that's a health department, Ohio Department of Health, or your primary care physician are the best experts to go to about those concerns. One of the biggest is siting and location. Again, planning starts well before Ohio EPA would be involved for our permitting review. Early planning often involves the local municipality, the data center themselves or the facility themselves, Public Utilities Commission of Ohio, and the local water and electricity providers. So I just wanted to put that out there. What we're doing today with our presentation is going over what this draft wastewater, stormwater general permit covers. And so those are the types of comments that we're looking for, things that affect wastewater, things that affect stormwater, because this meeting is specifically about that draft general permit and not necessarily about specific data centers that have opened or are proposing to open throughout the state. Again, like I said, the comment period has been extended to January 16, 2026. The goals today is that we give you information about the draft general permit for wastewater. And because we have such a large crowd, we will go directly into the comments because that's the heart and the meat of our meeting today, is to hear from the public. Concerns under Ohio EPA's jurisdiction, but will not be the focus of today's meeting. Any comments related, like I said, to specific data centers under development in Ohio with permit applications to Ohio EPA. Comments related to any air emissions. We do regulate air emissions at facilities in the state of Ohio, but that's not what the topic is today. It's a wastewater focused permit. And again, any comments regarding groundwater withdrawals. All right, so I will go ahead and pass this over to Allie to talk a little bit more specifically about what's going to be contained in, or proposed to be contained in the draft permit.
Okay, thank you. So like Mary said, discharges to wastewater to surface waters of the state must obtain a wastewater discharge permit. That's our National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDES permit. So some general information, and then the purpose of this permit I'm going to discuss here. So this new general permit, OHD 501, was public noticed on October 31st, 2025. It's a first-time issuance for data center facility operations, and it's proposed for a duration of 5 years. To ensure these discharges are in compliance with all applicable state and federal water pollution control laws is one of the purposes of issuing this permit, as well as consistency in the application of limits and relevant permit terms and conditions. This is a streamlined application process statewide, and what we mean by that is both the application and issuance process is streamlined. That means that sites that are generally consistent in their potential discharges, so sites that are generally consistent with their potential discharge and have the same environmental impact can be grouped together. So the permitting is uniform. And those application requirements will, which I will explain later, include that the water that is being discharged needs to be tested, and it also requires, through the application process, an Ohio EPA review. And I'll get into that in another slide. Also, this permit will authorize new dischargers, and it goes through what we call the anti-degradation process. The anti-degradation process ensures that the existing use of the water body is protected. So in other words, anti-degradation is the procedure to determine that a discharge is necessary before allowing it. General permits that authorize new discharges have to go through the anti-degradation process. All right, so who can be covered by this permit? A data center facility operations are generally defined by what we call the Standard Industrial Classification Code, the SIC code, and that is a data processing and preparation. So that's what is being covered by this permit. It's for existing and proposed operations. Existing point source discharges that would be discharging to surface waters of the state, or anything prior to July 1st, 1993, or those facilities that already are covered under an existing permit. And then proposed permits would be, proposed facilities could apply for coverage. The types of wastewater that would be covered are both wastewater discharges and stormwater. The specific types of wastewater discharges would only be applicable to these, which I'll point out. Non-contact cooling water, that's once through or recirculating. Non-contact cooling water does not come into contact with any, would only come into contact with equipment in the facility. So there would not be any contact with the process operations, and it's used only to convey heat from the facility. There are other non-process wastewaters that can be covered, or what we call low volume wastewaters, includes cooling tower blowdown, boiler blowdown, and air compressor condensate. In addition, stormwater would be covered. That would be anything associated with the industrial activity from the site. And that's any area where stormwater runoff may come into contact with contaminants from the industrial activity. That includes the generator areas, fuel or chemical storage tank areas, anything outside that for the equipment storage, or loading and unloading areas. This does not cover anything that we call like a co-related activity, such as power generation. So that's particular to these things that this permit would cover. Okay. The eligibility criteria that's outlined in the permit language describes what activities are authorized in the general permit. And if a data center facility can meet those items, then Ohio EPA can grant coverage. Dischargers that would not be eligible could still obtain an individual MPDS permit by submitting that individual permit application. So some of the restrictions would be the location of the discharge or the receiving stream. So for example, if the receiving stream is designated as outstanding or a high quality state water, they would not be eligible for coverage under this permit. Or if the location of the discharge goes to a sanitary sewer or to groundwater, it would not be allowed to have coverage under this permit. Some other of the restrictions are discharges that may cause or have the potential to contribute to an exceedance of any of Ohio's water quality standards. That includes temperature and thermal loads. If the cooling water that's being used would come from an intake that's greater than 2 million gallons per day, they would not be able to receive coverage. And then if there's any other discharge types that wouldn't apply, for instance, like heat exchanger cleanings. And again, if the discharge is not eligible, they can still or have the option to obtain an individual MPDS permit. Okay, so how to obtain coverage would be through the submittal of a notice of intent application, and the link here is through Ohio EPA's eBusiness Center. And that requires establishing an Ohio eBusiness Center account and obtaining a unique personal identification number, or PIN, for submitting the NOI. If you have an existing eBusiness Center account, and the holder can access the NOI form that way, and they can use their existing account and submit their existing PIN. The contents of an NOI is not just a one-page form for this general permit. There's additional items we're going to be asking for. That includes the location of the discharge, the seasonal flow fluctuations. We want to get an explanation of what those are going to be. We're asking for a storm drainage site map. In addition, supplementary data needs to be submitted, and it will depend on the source water that the data center is using. So for instance, some potential parameters they would need to submit results for include oil and grease, total phosphorus, total filterable residue, total residual chlorine, total residual oxidants, temperature, metals, VOCs. And then if the facility has a list of additives proposed to be discharged, they would have to submit the safety data sheet, which needs to be reviewed and approved. And that is a separate application process and a separate review process from this general permit. Okay, so this permit also includes discharge limits and monitoring requirements through 2 outfalls. The first outfall, outfall 1, would include the wastewater or the stormwater if it's mixed. In general, most of the parameters require weekly monitoring unless it's continuous or less frequent, and I'll get into that in another slide. The limits that are included are based on Ohio's water quality standards. Limits that are applicable are for pH, total filterable residue, which is also known as total dissolved solids, total residual chlorine, and total residual oxidants. And then outfall 2 is for stormwater only. It requires quarterly sampling and benchmarks for total suspended solids and oil and grease. Benchmarks are not limits, but it's a numeric value that's included in the permit to ensure that there's proper management practices at the facility, good housekeeping, they're maintaining to minimize any runoff of oily substances or particulate material. And then those same benchmarks and same monitoring requirements are applicable at outfall 1. The reporting requirements in the permit include continuous monitoring for temperature and flow, grab samples for total suspended solids, oil and grease, phosphorus, total residual oxidants, and total residual chlorine. The asterisk is referenced for phosphorus, residual oxidants, and chlorine if it's expected to be in the discharge. So we would determine if it's in the source water or in an additive during the application review process. And there's additional grab samples that would need to be required for those parameters. Multiple grab samplings required for pH, composite samplings required for total filterable residue, and then all of these samples and all of these results are to be submitted through what we call a discharge monitoring report that's due by the 20th day of the month following the month of interest. Every month, these are required to be submitted regardless if there's a discharge. The sample and test procedures are listed in the Federal Rule 40 CFR Part 136, and that is a link used if you're interested for those test procedures. And lastly, I'll go through some of the special conditions in the permit. The first is the treatment additive approval process. Like I mentioned, that's a separate form and a separate review process and approval process through the Ohio EPA. That's listed in the permit. The limits that are below quantification, those are what are limits that apply, that are set lower than what the test methodology can actually achieve. And that's outlined particularly for total residual chlorine and total residual oxidants. And then stormwater best management practices are listed, and those are discussing the BMPs, best management practices, and ensuring that the stormwater is not contaminated and that the water quality standards are being maintained. So there's the spill prevention techniques. It goes through some good housekeeping practices. For instance, how to minimize contaminants in those equipment maintenance or fuel storage areas, recommendations like perform maintenance activities indoors, use drip pans, things like that. And then it also lists out authorized non-stormwater discharges such as fire hydrant flushing. What I do want to mention, data center operations, they are not regulated in the industrial sector that's covered by Ohio's Industrial Stormwater Multi-Sector General Permit. They're not one of those categories that is regulated. So as part of coverage under this general permit, the stormwater is being regulated, but it's not including all the multi-sector general permit requirements. For instance, this permit does not require a stormwater pollution prevention plan. And then the last 2 items that are special conditions in this general permit is outlining the stormwater benchmark sampling procedures. The monitoring period is for 2 years, and that's quarterly sampling, so that would be 8 samples. They need to sample within the first 30 minutes following the preceding event by 72 hours. So that sample collection process is outlined in this permit. It has to be a grab sample, a discrete location, such as a pipe or sheet flow. And then pesticide applications can be applied in accordance with the product labels, And then it requires that those pesticides used, the documentation is on site. Okay.
Thank you, Allie. I'm just going to remind folks that we do get great interest in this public hearing and this comment period. So we have extended it through January 16th, 2026. We are recording today's presentation. So we will post the presentation on our website for those who are unable to attend today or want to hear the information again. That will be available on our website regarding this draft general permit. I do want to stress that the hearing today is not your only chance to submit comments on this draft general permit. You can submit them up until 5 p.m. on January 16th in our online comment portal. While we will accept comments on any topic a speaker would like to speak on, we can only consider those relevant to the draft wastewater discharge general permit that we're presenting today. So I need to start a hearing speech, and my hearing speech is a little bit repetitive, but it's part of the process. So I appreciate your patience while I move into this. I just said that. Okay, so sorry. Thank you for taking the time to attend this hearing before Ohio EPA. The purpose of the hearing today is to obtain comments from any interested person regarding a draft general national pollutant discharge elimination system permit that may provide coverage to data centers in the state of Ohio. The NPDES general permit for discharges from data center facilities, permit number OHD 000001, is a first-time issuance, and it would cover data center facility operations that propose to discharge to waters of the state. Both wastewater and stormwater from the data center facility are proposed for coverage with this permit. All interested people are entitled to attend and be represented and to present comments concerning the general draft permit or draft general permit. All relevant comments received as part of the official record will be considered by the Director of Ohio EPA before a final decision is made regarding this permit. To be included in the official record, written comments must be received by Ohio EPA by the close of business, 5 p.m., January 16, 2025. These comments can be submitted today or entered into the online comment portal, but they won't be part of the testimony. And our in-person attendees have presented their comments. I will review and share comments received from our online participants. I'll read the name of the person submitting the comments, and we'll publish the complete comment entered into the GoTo app for the audience to view. Alrighty, so if we can pass the mic down to the end, and if folks want to raise their hand, when you are ready to proceed with your testimony, I just ask that you state your name and spell it for the record, and then you can start your testimony. And we'll be speaking.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause it right there. I left one speaker just because I can't go through all of them, and I thought the first guy was great. And I want you all to hear this guy because he says it just plain as day how we said it. And his name, I know he's with the Buckeye. Let's see, hold on. Where's his name? He's gonna say his name, but I don't want to say his name. Come on, my notes. Raccoon Creek. The first one was Matt Bowman with the Buckeye Lake Water, I think, Alliance. He is spot on, let's just say. And I want you all to just pay close attention to what he says. And he's spot on. I'm going to reach out to him as well as the Lake Erie Alliance, as well as there's this raccoon one. But like I said, I'm the first one I'm going to reach out to is Bowman. I like this guy.
Speaking at the end of this table here. Anybody want to provide oral testimony from our in-person audience? Oh, yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. My name's Matt Bowman. I'm with Buckeye Lake for Tomorrow. We're an environmental group. We've been around about 14 years. We work really hard to improve the water quality of Buckeye Lake. I'm just an accountant, right? Got a couple of degrees, but I think I'm, fair representation of, a normal person in Ohio that's got a degree, got a head on their shoulders. And when I read in your permit where it says It has been determined that a lowering of water quality of various waters of the state associated with granting coverage under this permit is necessary to accommodate important social and economic development in the state of Ohio. I have to call bullshit. I'm sorry. That is total bull. I worked for the federal government.
Hold on, we gotta give just the way you said that, we gotta give Mr. Matt Bowman. We call bullshit too.
We had to take an oath. Ohio EPA should have had to take an oath, and it should be to the people and the environment of the state of Ohio. This, when I read this, just as a common person off the street, this says they're allowed to pollute the water. Why would the Environmental Protection Agency tell them they're allowed to pollute the water? There are plenty of ways that they can handle this, using filtration, putting in wetlands. There's plenty of things that they can do so that they don't have to pollute our waterways. Also, in your 34-page document, it says like they can't dump into the lakes and stuff like that, but you don't cover a lot of other things. You don't cover canals. The state of Ohio is full of canals. Canals are extensions of the lakes. You don't cover them. Most of them are stagnant these days. The only time that they're really active is in the spring when the rains come in and then they flood the local lakes. And you're not covering things like that. I'm seriously concerned that all the work we've done out of Buckeye could be destroyed if they're allowed to do this. You're going to let them pour nutrient-filled, warm water into a stagnant canal that is full of 150 years of farming nutrients and only fills up with water in the spring. You're going to let them dump it in there, and it's already a petri dish. And then you're going to let them dump it in there warm and turn it into, an incubator. And then in the spring, when the rains come through, that's all going to go straight into our lake. And I swim in that lake. I fished in that lake this morning. Ice fishing. I eat the fish, and I got to call bull. This, to a reasonable person, this does not belong in here. Are there anybody in here that agrees with that? That when you read that, you think that's unreasonable? Raise your hands. Get counted. Seems like the majority of the room agrees with me as a reasonable person. I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Would anybody else in person?
Like Matt Bowman said, get counted. Own your shit. Own your shit, EPA. You want to allow big tech to pollute our waterways, and you're the Environmental Protection Agency. Are you the Economic Protection Agency? Are you the big tech protection? Are you data center? No, you're the environmental, and you're lowering water standards, lowering quality of water standards to allow big tech to put their water. And they don't know the outcome of this, by the way. This is they're testing to see, like, oh, let's see what happens. Lowering 5 years to destroy. What ecosystems do you think they can destroy in 5 years? And I'm going to tell you this, regardless of what water system they put it in, our lakes, our canals, our rivers, our lakes are all connected in Ohio. Our wetlands. What protected species you can kill off? What amphibians? I live in the wetlands. Literally, my backyard, I sit on a duck pond. My backyard is metro parks and protected wetlands. But what about the groundwater? Matt Bowman, I will be reaching out to you, but I, again, want to give you a round of applause. And any board member on the EPA, I just want all of you to hear this real quick because we think you are fucking ridiculous. And that is what we're all going to sound like when this explodes in your face. Stay focused, Ohio. Again, I don't want to be this long today, but thank you all for joining me, and stay focused, Ohio. We're gonna have a fun month. with everybody. And if any legislators are watching, because I know you all like to poke and watch and see what I'm doing, y'all be hearing from me this week. Have a great day. And again, when you guys look at a hold of your legislators, call them, call their offices, talk to their aides. Do not just write them letters. That doesn't work. Call them, get their cell phone numbers, call their cells, call them. They don't like when you bother them. Show up to an event that they're at and ask them about this. Put them on blast. The legislator is responsible to rein in the Environmental Protection Agency, and I will be damn sure to be holding every legislator accountable. And maybe not that in 2026 you'll be ran against, but we're going to put people against you. And this is a lesson for my generation. It is time to step up. Our political atmosphere looks like the Boomer Club. If we want change, we have to get involved. We have to. And Mean Street News is going to help you this next year learn all about how you are going to be able to do that. The rules. I want to be a teach. I want to help teach, because that is all I've done. Not all I've done. I've done a lot over the last couple of years, but is learn and watch. And you all would not believe how easy it would be to flip the script on both sides. Purple people eaters. Have a good night. Thank you for joining me today on Main Street. I hope you enjoyed this show. I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider supporting our work and supporting my effort. You can support directly underneath at the Spotify donation, or you can directly give a donation at paypal.me/Mean Street, Ohio. Any donation received will help me continue to provide news to you and everyone else across Ohio and beyond. I love what I do, and I just hope to continue to do it. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me today on Mean Street. I hope you enjoyed this show. I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider supporting our work and supporting my effort. And like I always say, if you cannot financially support, giving me a like, giving me a follow, and subscribing, going to my website, putting in your email, subscribing, helps me just as much as any financial contribution. Thank you again, and have a great evening. Stay focused, Ohio.